Please don't ever make me follow Dave Broccoli. So I'm a peaceful person. I don't really do well with the idea of physical confrontation or holding a gigantic fake penis in front of a bunch of people. And I'm lucky enough to have only been in almost 2 fights. The first time was when I accidentally joined the Army. And in the Army, there's a lot of testosterone. Basic training, like dudes just want to, even on their days off, they just want to like wrestle all the time. And that made me really uncomfortable. And so I hid in my bunk and I wrote long letters home to my mother. And when Drill Sergeant Winstead would catch me writing letters, he would say, "No one loves you, Choate." Even though that he knew my name was Choate with a T, not a D. And one time Drill Sergeant Winstead said, "Choate, I want to see you and Private Straub engage in a pugil bout." And if you're not familiar, a pugil stick's like this fighting staff, like a Donatello situation, except it's got padded ends, like on American Gladiators. And but even then, I didn't want to fight, and I didn't think that Straub wanted to fight. And so as we're kind of sizing each other up, you know, I'm trying to send him these iMessages that are just like, "We don't have to do this. We can fake it or something." But Straub didn't get the message, and he hit me with his padded end, which pissed me off. And you know, it's a weird thing to beat somebody's ass with a gigantic Q-tip. But that's what I did, as much as you can beat somebody's ass with a gigantic Q-tip. And then my next almost fight came 5 years later, and I was hitchhiking through North Carolina, toward the coast, and I ended up with this guy Andy in Surf City, North Carolina, who told me that I could probably stay with his friend Chris, who was having a party that night. And when we got there, it turned out that the party was just 4 dudes doing hard drugs in a double-wide trailer. And then me on the couch watching Married with Children. And one of the guys said, they asked me if I wanted to take this boat ride, which sounds innocent enough right now, but at the time it was kind of more like a psychological thriller situation where it's like, "Hey man, you want to take a boat ride?" And you know, it felt like somebody wasn't coming back, and that would have been me. And so I declined the boat ride, and then I fell asleep on the couch while the other guys went to the dock in the backyard. And when I woke up, this guy Chris, who was kind of the ringleader of the circus, I decided, he was standing over me and said, "Man, the boat's sinking, come on." And so I ran outside, and then like 40 yards off the back dock, there's this little flat-bottom boat with 2 dudes in it, and they're bucketing water out of there as hard as they can go. And then they start fighting for no reason, it seems. And which I start to get uncomfortable, and I want to crawl into my bunk and write long letters home to my mother, but I can't. And one of the guys is Andy, the guy that I'd ridden with, and then he hits the water and he starts to swim to the dock where there's Chris over here and this other guy here, and the other guy in the boat says, "Don't let him out of the water. I'm gonna kill him." And so it's like, all right, is he telling us that? Like, we don't let him out of the water? And it's like, well, they got it. And but then Chris leaves, and it's like, well, he's got it. And then Chris comes back and he's holding this pipe wrench, this giant pipe wrench. It's like a baseball bat. And then Andy is just off the dock, standing in the water, like holding his head up like a ball on a tee. And it just seems like this is bad, and Andy knows it. And so he darts over to the neighbor's dock, as much as you can dart in water. It's like, but you can't. It's like that level in Super Mario World where there's a little bit of water and you just have to keep jumping. It just doesn't work. And so the 2 guys, they catch Andy. And then the guy who's in the boat, he comes up, and the 3 of them are beating Andy up, and I'm just kind of standing there. And then Chris stands up, and I feel like it's going to be over. I feel like everything's done. Like, that's it. Everybody's tired. We had a lot of fun. Good party. And then Chris says, he grabs the pipe wrench, and he says, "Hold up his fucking leg." And I was like, oh God. And so one guy's holding him on the ground, and the other guy takes his ankle, and he keeps it at hip level. And Chris, he takes that pipe wrench over his head like an axe he's about to use to split wood, and he just comes down on it. And this noise that comes from Andy is just something that I've never heard since or before. It was brutal. And I was like, now we know that we took things too far, and now it's going to end. But then Chris said, hold up his other fucking leg. And then I was terrified. I thought they were about to kill this guy, and I was going to watch it and do nothing. And then they were going to kill me for having seen it. And, but then something weird happened, this miracle. Andy, like when they started to outstretch his leg, he, instead of trying to keep it tucked, he kicked the guy over onto Chris, and they both fell down. It was like a cartoon. And somehow he got away from the guy on the ground, and he stood up and he started running, like with this hobble. And we were in the backyard, and he was trying to run around to the front yard of this mobile home. And Chris looked right at me, and he said, get his ass. And it was like, I started running, and as I was chasing him, and I knew I would catch him fast, I didn't know what I was going to do when I caught him. And when I did catch him in the front yard, I made sure no one was around, and I leaned in, and I said, keep going. And so he did, and he got away. And then the guys came around, and I explained that he got away. And then I got away a couple of days later. And, you know, so really I learned two things about my two almost fights. The first thing I learned is not to join the army if you don't like fighting. And the second thing is, Mom was right. Married with children is a bad influence, just like hard drugs.